in the midst of an opioid crisis where people are dying every day, it's a staggering number. You need to boil that ocean in about 15 minutes. So we really decided consciously that this isn't going to be a pharmacy item. If you put this on a peg in aisle 8, section 6 of a pharmacy, it's going to be a very slow adoption.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. If you're interested in technologies that make an impact on the world, this episode is for you. Meet Jason Sundby, CEO and Chairman of Verde Technologies and partner of Atlas Capital Partners. Since 2015, Jason has served as CEO of Verde Environmental Technologies, Inc., maker of the Deterra drug deactivation and disposal system. Jason Sundby, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you today?
I'm fine, Michael. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Are you calling in from Minnesota right now?
I am. Yeah. In a suburb outside of Minneapolis. Yeah.
I love it. I believe you're the second guest I've had from Minnesota, so I'm very, very excited for this conversation. Jason,
Great.
there's so many things that we can talk about, whether it's your 20 years at Star Tribune newspaper on risk management, and I will have to ask soon, what does that entail, the role of Director of Risk Management there, to Regis Corporation, founding partner of Atlas Capital Partners, but now our conversation will also focus on Verde Technologies and your product Deterra, talking about issues like the prescription drug abuse, environmental contamination. So lots to talk about in these 20 minutes. Before we get to the more recent stuff, tell me a little bit about your career at a high level. When you look back, how do you see yourself, running through your career?
It's actually pretty interesting. I started working at the Star Tribune when I was 18 years old, and I got a job in the maintenance department to put myself through college. And so I wiped up ink and oil and picked up paper and cleaned bathrooms from 10 at night till 6:30 in the morning. And so that's how I started. When I look back on my career, I basically put my head down. Decided that I was, whatever task I was given, whatever job I was going to give my absolute all into it, right? And so I started out in that position, and ended up leaving the Star Tribune as a director. And so I had moved through the ranks a bit, from maintenance, and then was recruited and asked to join Regis Corporation, and I worked there and was promoted there and stayed there for, I think, 10, 12 years. It was a good run.
Wow.
And then we formed Atlas Capital Partners, which is a small private equity group. And then I was asked to take over this role with one of the portfolio companies.
Wow.
To become chairman and CEO.
I love it. So a few short...
Like I said, I put my head down a long time ago, and here I am today.
Over 20 years at the Star Tribune, but I want to stop for short pit stops before we get to the most recent advancement with Verde Technologies. Director of Risk Management at a newspaper company. What does that actually mean?
Risk management can incorporate an awful lot of things, right? But whatever external, even internal risks, but whatever external risks are there, you try to mitigate them. If you can't mitigate them, you try and insure against any catastrophic losses. So that's, it's anything that can and will go wrong. You try and avoid it, engineer it out, or insure against it.
And so how does a day like that look for you? Do you just come to the office and think, wow, what could destroy us today? Or what is happening that might lead to a problem down the line?
Yeah, I think basically you become a professional paranoid person in doing that. But you know what? You meet an awful lot of people. You learn every facet of the company. Because you're working with them to understand what keeps them up at night, and then you try and help alleviate that. So you learn a very broad base of business, so that's what you do.
Amazing. And so you're at Atlas Capital, you're a founding partner there. And then I didn't realize that, Verde Technologies was one of your portfolio companies that you decided to
Right.
join. Was that an obvious decision, or is that even a common decision for
No,
a partner of a
no,
private
no,
equity
it's
firm
not.
to join one of the companies?
Right. No. So our investment thesis was to invest in companies that are going to leave the world in a little better place than we found it. But the founding partners all had long careers and different experiences. And so part of what we did was not just invest capital, but we invested kind of human capital, our expertise, our experience. And as much as these companies would allow, we would help them. And so I was on the board of directors of Verde Technologies. And it was started by two very smart chemists and a doctor of pharmacology. But growing that business was not their skill set. And so I was asked by the shareholders to step in and take this leadership role. I will tell you this late in my career, I wasn't expecting to work as hard or as long as I have, but it's extremely rewarding, and we'll get to that when we talk about our mission. But no, it's not, and it's certainly nothing we set out to do. Certainly nothing I was expecting, but when I was asked, you answer the call.
So let's head directly there. Verde Technologies, the mission, the product. What do we have in store for us?
Right. So I don't know if you've seen our product, and the good part is I'm never far from it, but that's what it is. So basically what this product does is it deactivates and destroys unused and unwanted drugs in your home. It's really simple to use. It's a 3-step process. You open up, you add pills, patches, liquids. Inside that pouch is a certain amount and kind of activated carbon in a water-soluble pod. So think like a dishwasher detergent pod. You fill it with those drugs. It really works on any form factor, and it works on any organic compound. You fill it halfway full with warm tap water. That opens up that pod, and it dissolves any pills or capsules. You leave it open for about 20 seconds. Carbon is extremely porous, so you just want the air to come out. You zip it closed. It's got a double zip device. You shake it a few times and throw it in the household trash. And through the process of adsorption, the molecule of the drug is bound onto the surface of the carbon. It renders it inert. It's irretrievable, unrecoverable. At that point, it won't leach into the groundwater. And so it gets especially abusable drugs like opioids, which is a huge problem in this country, opioid abuse, overdose, and death. But there's also environmental contamination of other drugs, right? So endocrine disruptors, unused antibiotics from getting into our lakes, rivers, and streams. We didn't really want to be working so hard on two big societal problems by throwing yet another plastic bag in the trash heap. So this pouch material is actually made out of sugarcane. So a renewable crop. It's made in a plant that runs on nothing but wind power. It's IM Green and USDA certified for those that know what those are. But it's as green product as we can make it. So it's patented, 13 U.S. patents and 33 international patents. So it's a good, solid project.
Wow.
And our goal is to prevent people from becoming addicted, overdosing, and dying on opioids, and keeping these drugs out of our waterways. Now you know why it's easy to get out of bed.
So tell me a little bit about the scale. Yeah. I can definitely see that, just like when I look at early stage companies, I love starting with the pain, and you've already touched on that. I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing the prescriptive drug abuse, specifically opioids, which not only harms people but can kill and lead to overdose. And you have the environmental as well, which you're saying we don't want the pills to just be part of our water streams. By having them undergo this chemical reaction, you're actually disposing them in a safe way. how big is this problem? What is the scale of this that we're talking about? Is it, a couple households, a lot of households?
Well, the problem, no, I'll kind of bifurcate this. The opioid problem is big and getting bigger. And because of COVID, we had people go into their homes, stay in their homes. They may have lost their job or they were very uncertain about their future. And when that happens, people are stressed.
Yep.
They self-medicate. They tend to self-medicate. And where do they look first? They look in their family medicine chest or a friend's medicine chest. So in 2019, 72,000 people in the United States died from opioid overdoses. 4 out of 5 people that abuse heroin or other drugs begin with opioid painkillers. That number rose. I'm really sad to say it rose to over 90,000 this last year. And it very well may be in a rolling 12-month, over 100,000 people in just this country have died from opioid overdoses. So it's a problem. Yeah, it is. It is an unfortunate. Wow. And on the environmental piece, there are over 150 different pharmaceutical compounds found in our lakes, rivers, streams, and our drinking water. And they may very well be at the micron level, but they're not intended for you. And there are a lot of articles saying that those drugs, after continuous ingestion of them, can cause problems. So that's what we're working on, and what we're trying to accomplish.
So it sounds like, it sounds like either of those two problems alone would be something that would provide enough fulfillment for a long time. And I can only imagine working on those two at the same time. So tell me a little bit about the challenges of building a product like this, because you obviously have the chemistry aspect, which I'm guessing all the patents are about, and I'm guessing that's solved. But now as the leader of this, and you're talking about, consumer behavior, and you're talking about, the way people are dealing, in situations of stress. How do you actually encourage people to use this even after they buy it?
Yeah, we do marketing campaigns to get the word out, but you're very correct. And here's the conundrum, right? So it's a new market. People have never really disposed of their unused drugs in the past, other than flushing them and putting them down the sink, which is the environmentally bad part. So to get consumer awareness of a new category and a new product in that category, it's kind of like trying to boil the ocean. Well, in the midst of an opioid crisis where people are dying every day, it's a staggering number. You need to boil that ocean in about 15 minutes. So we really decided consciously that this isn't going to be a pharmacy item. If you put this on a peg in aisle 8, section 6 of a pharmacy, it's going to be a very slow adoption. So we really kind of, again, split our efforts into foundational, working with the government to get the DEA and the FDA to either purchase or endorse these products. And then the commercial side. And we sell to everyone from pharma manufacturers to distributors, everybody along this continuum that touches pharmaceuticals, to healthcare. Mayo Clinic is a really good customer of ours. We do sell in pharmacies. We sell to law enforcement. We sell to governmental agencies, states, and attorneys general. So everyone that touches it. We've sold enough product now to have deactivated and destroyed over 700 million dosage units, pills, if you will. But there are billions of these opioids sitting in people's medicine chests. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we work very hard. I think one of the things when you talk about my career, I've always prided myself on the fact that I hire very, very smart people. I surround myself with smart people. And then I think, to my credit, I listen to them. They are much more. A lot of people don't do that, but you know what? I know when I'm outmanned and these people are very smart and very dedicated, and we have a very good group of people working on this.
Justin, what I always try to also extract, business lessons, both for myself as a young entrepreneur, but I think they're just generally interesting, why people decide what they do. And I think the really interesting decision that you made here was saying, we have the science aspect, the technology that we created, and then there's the distribution. And at the end, how do we actually generate the most amount of impact? And you're saying that you have the option of going directly, to CVS and Walgreens and placing it on aisle 8, but you understand already that that you're trying to boil an ocean, and you're not going to be able to do that as well. And it's much better if you focus on the actual technology and the product, and you actually empower governmental agencies, law enforcement, DEA, FDA, etc., to actually go and that's their job really in the United States and other groups in the world, right? To actually facilitate this distribution and this consumer awareness. And I think that's just really, really interesting.
That's right. Yeah, and the way we look at this, we're a small but growing company, and at some point, we'll be a target for some very large corporation, and they'll be able to, turn this into a consumer product. Mm-hmm. They have the reach, they have the ability. If you think of some of these large companies that already have 30 or 40 products in a pharmacy,
right?
They can do that.
Yep.
Our focus is really to try and de-risk homes, get these drugs out of people's homes, prove the concept in every one of these market spaces, and garner a great deal of shareholder value for this company. And then at some point, and we've already had a couple of overtures, but at some point, some company will most likely make a bid for us.
Right. I mean, it sounds also that you're taking a challenge here. You're saying we're going to shift consumer behavior. It's not a trivial understanding of how are consumers gaining benefit independently by using this product, right? You're actually asking them to take an extra step out of their way, which with a theoretical benefit. And so it makes it just that much harder. Now, it's undeniable the impact that this is going to have on a scale, especially as you're telling me that dozens of thousands are dying from this. And I can only imagine how much easier it is for a large brand that has already 30 products endorsing this and adding it as a 31st product that people should take with them as they shop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's another reason that we think that for us, we need to focus on those folks that have skin in the game, pharma manufacturers and distributors, and that's where the money is. That supply chain of pharmaceuticals, there's a lot of money there. All of our at-home products actually are fairly inexpensive. Our largest at-home product is still less than the cost of a latte at Starbucks. So, and then it goes down from there. So $5 or under. But if you were prescribed an opioid at the pharmacy, and you paid $7 copay, and by the time people got this, and if sold, wholesale for $3, by the time the distributor and the pharmacy got their money, you'd be paying as much for that as you would for the drug, and you might not have the foresight. You're in pain when you get opioids. And you might not have the foresight to say, I'm going to have some of these left over and I'm going to get them out so my kids or my family. And so that's the other reason. We really needed to go after where the money was. And it's so far it's worked quite well. I mean, when we kind of started this, rebranded in 2015, we were in the low six figures in revenues. And now we're in the 8 figures or above, and we're a private company, so we don't give away our revenue. So it's been good growth. COVID, pretty much plateaued us for a year. People weren't really releasing their funds; they were holding back, but we held our own, and in fact, we grew our company internally to be prepared for this return as we come out of COVID. And so far, it's we're really starting to see this uptake.
Jason, it sounds exciting, and it's exciting to me to hear again from another company that is really, really making a positive impact. It's undeniably a positive impact. A lot of companies like to say that they're improving the world, that you're actually solving a problem that kills people and then impacts billions of others drinking what I'm understanding is not a clear water. Jason, I have 3 more questions for you. They're not related to Verde Technologies. They're more about you. The first one is, what is your favorite subject from middle school or high school?
I've always been a big fan of history. And so I would say history class. I had a really engaging, very intelligent junior high school history teacher that really, kind of tripped that trigger for me. And I've always been a big believer that you learn a lot from history. You take the good parts and build on them for the future, and you take the bad parts and make sure they don't happen again. So that's my answer. History that's my final answer. It's history.
Wonderful. And who would be a role model of yours or somebody that inspires you?
I have 2. One, my father. My father taught me, right from wrong, and taught me a work ethic that has served me well throughout these years. And the other is John Glenn. John Glenn was a U.S. astronaut. And what I took from John Glenn, he was also a person of character. He became a U.S. senator. But if you persevere and you are diligent, you can accomplish anything. And I always took that lesson from him. He was a great American, and as a young boy, someone to look up to.
Amazing. And what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
I think tenacious is one. I'm extremely inquisitive. I like to learn, and I'm a lifelong learner. And I hopefully it came across. I like to think of myself as a friendly person. I get along with most everyone.
It really does. I love it. Jason, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. I look forward to coming back to the US and purchasing these and using these myself. So thank you for sharing that with me. And stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the time. Take care.